See, my hobby is saving money. When I was a child, my mother opened a savings account for me. She told me that depositing money in the bank made the numbers in my passbook grow, and I found that very enjoyable. I started depositing a little bit at a time, starting with just $1, and enjoy watching it grow. So when my savings grew by a few cents in interest each year, it was a delightful surprise to my young self. Being fond of money and how it works, I worked as a financial planner and gave advice on asset management. One day, a friend from college told me, an old childhood friend is in serious trouble due to debt. Could you give him some advice? So I decided to meet with him and my friend. This old friend was a handsome man with a refreshing smile. My friend explained, despite his looks, he loves gambling and is struggling to make ends meet. I thought you, Helen, might have some good advice. His name was Mark. As I listened to his story, Mark admitted he loved gambling, just like his parents. Even worse, he had even taken on his parents' debt. Of course, he seemed to be quite worried. I found his troubled expression rather endearing. Because my friend had asked, I gladly agreed to help him. Looking back now, perhaps I had a bit of a crush on him, but I never imagined that this would lead to a series of troublesome events. Anyway, I advised Mark to consolidate his debts and reduce his monthly payments so he can manage his life somehow. Not long after, Mark and I started dating. That friend of mine posted, saying, I wouldn't recommend being with him. But we went ahead and got married. I thought that getting married would help us face Mark's debt together. My income is pretty good for my age group, therefore, most of Mark's income went towards his debt, and I made sure he cut ties with his parents to prevent the debt from increasing further. And I gave Mark a monthly allowance of $500. When Mark decided to cut ties, his mother yelled, You ungrateful child. I wish I'd never given birth to you. It's only natural for a child to repay their parents' debts. His father also said, Where's that thieving cat? I can't rest until I give her a piece of my mind. You belong to us. My husband Mark, being exhausted from having to deal with my in-laws' debts all this time, finally told them, enough is enough. I'm not your ATM. I'm trying my best here, and came back to me. He finally felt relieved to be free from my in-laws, who I constantly been bringing up their debts. Soon after, we had a son. Our son, Kevin, is handsome, just like Mark. He's my pride and joy. Kevin seemed to pick up on his father's lack of discipline and indecisiveness, just as our son had noticed. Mark's carefree character didn't change. Borrowing money from predatory lenders, dealing with loan sharks, tricking friends into lending him money to gamble it away, we went through a lot. But I managed to keep Mark in line as 23 years went by. And recently, we finally got down Mark's debt to about $10,000. We're almost at full repayment. At that moment, Mark received a call from his parents. Please help us. Your father has collapsed. We're at the hospital now. Can you come? What? Which hospital? What's his condition? Is his dad okay? Your father suddenly collapsed and we had to call an ambulance. Mom, pull yourself together. What hospital are you at? Mark left work early and came to the hospital. Then he messaged me. Helen, Dad collapsed. I'm at the hospital now. I'm sorry. I broke our promise and went to see my parents. I'm really sorry. What? Your dad collapsed? So, how is he now? He had a minor stroke. His life isn't in danger, but he shouldn't overexert himself. Both my parents are feeling low. I want to stay with them for a while. Is that okay? Of course, honey. Go and comfort them. Should I come too? No, it's okay. You're busy with work and they might treat you poorly again. I gave Mark a little extra money for hospital visits. They probably couldn't pay for the hospital fees. Since then, Mark seems to visit his parents often. Each time he took $200, $300 from me. I guess my in-laws are struggling financially and are taking a little bit from Mark. It amounted to around $1,000 to $2,000 a month. But I let it slide for now. A year has passed since my father-in-law collapsed. Both my in-laws had aged, and I guess they wanted someone to lean on. My hobby, as always, is saving money. One day, I took out my bank book from the vault. Ingrid, usually Mart, who wasn't interested in me, stared at me and asked, Hey, how much money do we have in that bank account you always look at so happily? It's about $500,000 now, I answered casually, but the next morning, I filled out the divorce form was left in the living room, and both Mart and the safe were gone. As I was having breakfast, I couldn't help but smile. I knew Mark had been eyeing the money in the vaults. Moreover, he had planned to take the entire vault. He's really not smart, but imagining him carrying the whole vault almost made me burst out laughing. We have a black cat named Luna. We've installed a pet camera to watch her. Luna's adorable antics are the healing moments of my day. There I was, watching that camera during my lunch breaks. No matter when I look, my child's is just adorable. One day, as I switched on the camera, There they were, in our living room, on a weekday, my in-laws and my husband Mark, and they were having an unbelievable conversation. "Oh, you're living in such a nice house, Mark. You must have a good salary. Makes your mother so proud," they said, flattering my husband. "Indeed, I am proud," responded Mark's father. "You know, I make a pretty decent salary myself, but Helen takes all of it, so I only get an allowance of $500 a month," Mark said. "Oh, Mark, you poor thing. You've been working so hard. Your mother understands," they consoled. "I can't believe she takes all your salary. And only $500 a month? That's outrageous. You should be getting more. Why are you obeying such a tyrant like Helen? You could be living much better on your own," they continued. "You're our pride, Mark. You could have saved hundreds of thousands by now. But she's just exploiting you, you poor thing," they said as my mother-in-law began to sob. "Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. You guys are right," Mark agreed. "What is he talking about? He seemed to have completely forgotten that I've been working hard to pay off his debt. I wonder what's going on inside their heads." Moreover, in the past, he was burdened with debt from his parents and had to give them cash every month, making it difficult for him to get by. "You know, she has a bank book with tons of savings stashed in a vault. It's not fair that I only get $500, Mark complained. The moment he said that, my in-laws' eyes lit up. They exchanged glances. "So, how much is in the bank book?" They leaned in, eagerly awaiting his answer. Last I heard, I think it was around $400K or $500K, Mark said. "Mark, isn't that money rightfully yours?" they asked. "It might not match the effort you've put in, but isn't it money you should be receiving?" "Yeah, I guess you're right. I'm starting to think the same thing," Mark conceded, despite his good looks. Mark is indecisive and easily influenced by others. I used to find this indecisiveness endearing and devoted myself to him wholeheartedly. We've managed to reduce his nearly $200,000 debt down to $10,000. Yet, it looks like he's being manipulated by his parents again, and they're about to touch my precious savings. Seeing this scene was so pathetic. I was at my desk at work, tears streaming down my face as I held my phone. I've been putting aside my living expenses for Mark, using his income mostly to pay off the debt. On top of that, I was providing him with an allowance of $500 out of my own pocket. Despite explaining this to Mark, it seems he's completely forgotten. What had these past 23 years been for? I felt so sad and pitiful. My heart ached as if I was drowning in my own tears and snot. I felt like I was disappearing, on the verge of breaking. But I made sure to record the conversation and sent the data to my son. That day, I left work early due to sickness. I went to my usual bar and drank heavily, spilling out everything to the bartender. In such a state, the bartender comforted me gently. He casually said, "Why do you grieve such a person? You did nothing wrong. There's no need to live for them. Live for yourself." At that moment, all my intoxication and love for my husband faded. "Thank you, sir. Next time, we'll share a pleasant drink." I went back home after I said that to the bartender. Entering my study, I began to think, how would I steal the bank book inside that vault? I couldn't even begin to imagine. But I needed to devise a plan. I will show them hell. They shouldn't underestimate me. I concentrated harder than usual. Gathering evidence was the first step. From then on, I frequently checked the pet camera every day. Then, the ugly truths began to surface. My husband was bringing home a young woman during his supposed work hours. It seemed like he was bringing her over about 3 times a week. I couldn't believe I had to witness my husband's infidelity when all I wanted was to watch our cat Luna. Luna also seemed to be scared and wouldn't show up. They ruined my precious relaxation time. No, more than that, they betrayed me, which I can't forgive. One day, I'll punish them severely. One day, while I was working, I activated the pet camera. This time, it wasn't the woman my husband was having an affair with, but my in-laws were at our house again. "So, is everything arranged to take that bank book from Helen?" they said with an unpleasant grin. "You're smart. You must have thought of something, right?" "Yeah, I thought about it. I'm thinking of taking the entire vault. It'll be easy." "Hey, that vault is quite heavy. Are you sure you can do it?" "I'll be fine. I'll load it on a cart. Help me out, Dad." "All right. I'll assist you anytime." The safe weighed about 120 pounds, as I suspected. My husband Mark was good-looking, but not very smart. I pledged in my heart once again to drag these people down to the depths of hell. If we had that money from that bank book, we can go to the casino as a family. We can live as a family of 3 again. That's right. Let's live happily with the money from that bank book. Right, Mark? Yeah. But I do feel a little bad about Helen. She was saving up so happily. What are you talking about? It's your money that she saved up, so it's only fair that we take it. You can't be so weak-willed. We're doing this for your happiness, remember? Right? I'll be happy. Besides, you found a new wife, haven't you? Then quickly divorce that woman. I have to divorce for her sake as well. I'll leave the divorce papers here then. That's right. We're waiting for the money from that bank book and the new wife. So, I'm going to be divorced? Well, I guess that makes sense. I found myself strangely accepting. But just how down bad are these people for some money? I was sipping coffee at my office desk, recording the scene on my phone screen. I wasn't even upset or sad anymore if they had such intention. So did I. I was going to show them all hell. I was fired up. And then, the day finally came. Hey, how much money is in that passbook you've got in the vault? You always seem so happy when you're looking at it. Right now, there's about $500,000 in there. The next day, when I got home, there was a signed divorce paper in the living room, and both my husband and the vault were gone. I had a smirk on my face while having breakfast. I acted quickly afterwards. I immediately filed the divorce papers and contacted my son right away. Kevin, your father finally stole the vault. Can't believe he managed to carry it. It's so heavy. Mom, I think it's about time you end things with that. By the way, did he take everything in the vault too? Actually, I moved all the money to online banking. The passbook is essentially worthless now. The most valuable thing might have been the safe itself, since it was so heavy. Oh, by the way, I've already filed the divorce papers. Now I'm thinking about filing a police report. What do you think? If you should file a police report, and it would be best to hire a lawyer. Oh, right. A lawyer. I already had a private investigator on it, but hadn't thought about a lawyer. Thanks. I'm cutting ties with that too. Kevin seemed exasperated. As Kevin suggested, I reached out to a lawyer through my private investigative contact.